Alright, welcome to General Nerdities, a place where we discuss all things in the general nerd culture, from video games, comic books, TV shows, movies, and more. We're your hosts. I'm Jake, this is Alex, and on this episode we will be discussing EA's loss of the Star Wars gaming exclusivity and what that means to gaming. Quick backstory of the whole thing. In 2013, EA gained the exclusive rights to make Star Wars games so that nobody else could. Um, the rights were expected to last over 10 years, and it did not. Just last week, Lucasfilm Games was announced, and also it was announced that Ubisoft will be working on a open world Star Wars game. Specifically, Massive Entertainment is going to be working on an open world Star Wars game. So clearly, Disney has ended that exclusivity. It has come to an end. And now it is open. It looks as though Disney's going to kind of pick and choose its developers. Now, since 2013, EA has only produced 5 games. Some of them with a lot of controversy. Battlefront was the first of their games released in 2015, so they didn't get a game out until 2 years in. Then they got Galaxy of Heroes out a week later for mobile devices. And then 2 years later, they got Battlefront 2. So within the first 5 years, they got 2 Battlefronts out and a mobile game. So nothing story driven except for the small campaign on Battlefront 2. And then finally in 2019, 6 years later, they released Jedi Fallen Order, which was a story-driven, third-person, actual Jedi game. And then a year later, just this last year in October, they finally released Star Wars Squadrons, which has done really well. Battlefront 2 is probably its most controversial, mired with all the Loot Crate controversy. It brought a lot of things to court and had its own issues, but that's neither here nor there. Along the way, they've also canceled 3 games. They shut down what was known as Project Ragtag in 2017. This was Amy Hennig's game, the old Uncharted director.
She's the studio head of Naughty Dog for a while. She was, the main creative force behind the first 3 Uncharted, along with Legacy and Kane. If you remember those games from the earlier PlayStation, she was one of the lead creatives on that as well. So, incredibly storied developer. Unfortunately, I don't know why you poach that kind of talent from Sony, give her the studio that made Dead Space, and unceremoniously cancel their entire project.
Well, they shut down the whole studio.
Yeah,
they closed that studio. So I don't know. They had to have paid a pretty penny to get her over. Allegedly, it was supposed to have been like a Star Wars heist game. So I don't know. I can't think of many heist scenario. Maybe a Han Solo-y type thing. I don't. Maybe you're a smuggler. But Amy Hennig, she's a big on storytelling, and I'd be interested to see what type of story she could have told. She's always told pretty good stories in gaming, and that going away. And looking at the list of the games that they did put out, only one was story driven. The rest were online multiplayer driven, microtransaction driven. Star Wars is a story, and they basically had the title for 8. They had exclusivity for 8 years now, and told one story, with a little bit of Squadrons and obviously Battlefront 2. So that's a thing. And then they had 2 other projects shut down in 2018 and 2019 as well. One of them was supposed to have been a Battlefront spinoff, and the other was they were trying to recover a little bit of Project Ragtag, but then they didn't, and then they just dropped it completely. So I don't know. But so Star Wars or Lucasfilm Games announced that Ubisoft, Massive Entertainment, is making a game. What is that looking like to you?
So one of the things that Ubisoft announced in their press release was that the game that they're making is going to be using their Snowdrop engine, which is the same engine that powers both Division games, along with South Park: The Fraction Butthole. So I mean, right away they're telling you it's not going to be an Assassin's Creed or Far Cry style game. It's not going to be a single protagonist open world. It's going to be, I would imagine, it's going to be multiplayer. It's going to be shooter focused, and I think it's realistically going to be something very similar to the Division. But those games have sold incredibly well for them. Division Two is one of their highest rated games of their last generation. I don't see why they would stray far away from that formula. What's very interesting is Disney didn't announce that the exclusivity deal is over. I think they're signaling more that they're not going to renew after the 10 years are up. So if Ubisoft is announcing this game right now, don't expect it. I would expect it to come out fall of 2023. That's because I think the agreement was inked in May of 2013. So I assume summer or fall of 2023,
Okay.
you're going to see them. You're going to see a lot of these announcements now. That way, at the end of their exclusivity deal, they have many games ready to go in the pipeline.
I I could see that, and that so by the end of it, EA will have had their 10 years. I think it is a little bit telling though that both Star Wars has they Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm games, whatever you want to call it, has been unimpressed with the results enough to have like come out and said, "Hey, by the way, we're not early, 3 years early." They decided to announce that they're not renewing the
Yeah,
Star Wars exclusivity. So EA, no matter what they've done, it clearly wasn't enough for, let's call it Disney here since we're talking money. Um,
yeah,
but and I don't know, it looks interesting. I'm excited personally. I think you hit the nail right on the head with Massive and the Snowdrop engine. It's I see a Division clone, a cover-based shooter-style game. The first thing that kind of comes to mind is looking back. I know it wasn't the same studio, but seeing the Star Wars 1313 trailers. Being on Coruscant and working around. Maybe it's not on Coruscant. Maybe they got their own story
yeah,
to tell. But a game like that where you're not a Jedi, but it is a third-person based shooter-style game where you're working through that. I think that could be really cool. I just played through the Battlefront 2 campaign. It was all right. It made me kind of actually want a story based Star Wars shooter. Maybe similar to like a Republic Commando. Um,
yeah.
but
I think we're gonna get a Republic Commando style game all over again. I'm hoping it's maybe or at least there's some kind of squad based, group tactics. I know a lot of people are tired of the always online games and service kind of thing,
but that's
but
my
I understand.
fear. The division. That's what they do too. It's they got the MMO type or the modern MMO or whatever that genre is
Yeah,
called.
yeah,
Um,
it's a games as a service, but I
yeah,
think that's ultimately where this is headed. And you know what? If you're going to have that, you might as well have one of the best in the industry doing that for you. You're not going to end up with an Anthem style game where the gameplay is lackluster and borderline broken. I I would trust that the team at Massive knows what they're doing. I may not like the game, but I can guess it's not going to be a broken game.
right. And I've never gotten too big into the division, but I've never really heard anybody who's got a lot of complaints about it. Whatever the game is, people seem to enjoy it. I don't want one. If it's going to be an online game, and I know we've said this before about other games, but if it's going to be an online game, I'd rather it be in the vein of like Borderlands, where it's just like, hey, do it with some friends and have a good
Yeah,
time. Like not just this open world where I'm running into random people, where I'm doing
yeah,
where the story is so much more generic because
yeah,
there's so many people in the world and your choice of consequence or what you do can't really affect the world. So like if it's gonna be multiplayer, make it a semi-closed multiplayer co-op and go enjoy it.
yeah.
Enjoy the world and tell a story, please. Please tell
Yeah,
a good story.
I don't think that's going to get what we're going to get from this game, but I do feel that's on the horizon.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
I I think one of the things that Marvel and by extension Disney learned was that they can have various studios pitch them games, and those games can be successful on their own. You look at Sony's Spider-Man, you look at Ninja Theory with Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch. You look at Marvel's Avengers via Square Enix. Again, Marvel Avengers probably not the the pillar of success that they wanted, but you have multiple studios working with all of your IP, so and you're able to get the highs of a Spider-Man 2018, and maybe take some of the losses of it, Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're looking at now. They can have, some Sony studios, like, why not pitch them a different type of Star Wars game, a dramatic third person kind of thing that
Absolutely, why
Sony
not?
does
They're
very
already
well.
using an Xbox studio and Machine
Yeah,
Games to make Indiana Jones.
exactly. So I think I think part of this is Lucasfilms realizing that they're sitting on a treasure trove of IP and being a lot more judicious about giving this IP to various developers and studios
Mm-hmm.
across the world, and really opening up. But no matter what, EA only has so many resources, so many studios that they can throw at something. Why not open it to indie developers, third party developers, other first party developers all across the world?
Yeah. Um, Getting outside of like whatever the massive entertainment game looks like, just kind of in the broader sense, like what do you hope this move actually brings to us gaming wise?
In terms of specific IP, I would love to see KOTOR brought back.
In
Uh,
what
I,
capacity?
I would love to see KOTOR 3. I would I don't think BioWare is the team to do it. I don't think that BioWare has been around for a long time. A lot of those
BioWare is
creatives, yeah, no, a lot of those creatives left a long time ago. So I
yeah.
would love to see maybe Bethesda take up that mantle. I could see, any one of those. There's a bunch of studios that Microsoft just purchased that I'm sure would love to. I'd love to take a crack at.
Well, Obsidian is the ones who made KOTOR 2, and they made KOTOR 2 was a hell of a game. I thought they did a great job. And similar to like what they did on Fallout New Vegas, they did it with a shortened timeline with similar engine, and you can make the argument that they kind of did it better. Definitely a different a discussion for a different time, but Obsidian is right there. Like I said, they're already working with Xbox exclusive with Machine Games from Bethesda, so I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all.
What
Personally,
about you? What would you like to see?
I think the fanboy in me is screaming KOTOR 3, but I think that ship has sailed, man. Like you said, that team is gone. BioWare is gone. They put out Anthem and Andromeda are their last two games. They're not really striking a lot of hope with people. I don't have a lot of faith in them to put out a good game. I just don't. I'm super unexcited for this remake that they're doing of Mass Effect or whatever that they're releasing. But that's a whole nother. If anything, I would like to see them actually remake KOTOR 1 and 2. And not just like up graphic it and throw it out there. Give it to Final Fantasy Remake, like that type of attention. And maybe not split one KOTOR into 5 games or whatever, but remake the game from the ground up, open the world up, maybe throw in an extra planet or some extra side missions and stuff like that, while keeping the main game intact. Do the gameplay like that, and I think that'll be plenty. That'll be enough. I think if they're going to do anything in the KOTOR world, I'd like to see that.
Fair enough. I would also really like another pod racer game. It's silly and
You
it's
got me.
dumb,
No, Pod
but I
Racer all the
want
way.
give me a pod racer in the style of Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing,
So,
and I'm all about it.
no,
Like,
so give me a Gran Turismo style where you have pod racing, you have speeder racing, you have swoop racing, where you got like the different classes of racing, where you got a ship racing and stuff like that. Like one of the tracks could be the Kessel Run or something like that. Like I don't know. That's silly. No, but yeah, I guess like a Mario Kart style wouldn't be too bad. That could be fun. You're just shooting each other with blasters,
yeah, throwing various animals at each other,
boosters,
and
and
yeah,
yeah,
look, it's just so much of the Star Wars universe gets like so. I think a large part of it gets very serious enough at some but sometimes, and I do like the sillier side of Star Wars, and give me a silly kart racer sometimes, and I'll have a ton of fun.
yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Another big one that I'd really like to see from them is to make another real time strategy. Have somebody
Yeah.
make another real time strategy. They made one, Empire at War. It came out in
Yeah.
2006, and it is still a very, very popular game. It's played a
Yeah.
lot. It might be the most modded, if not one of the most modded, Star Wars games of all time. Like, people dig that game. People want a Star Wars real time strategy. Do something
Yeah.
like Halo Wars just put out the real time strategy. They had some
Yeah.
pretty good success with that. Throw something out like that. That could be fun. And they could even do like the old Warcraft did, where it kind of had like the little what was the online MOBA game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They I think that's where Dota came from. The first one came from Warcraft. Was a Warcraft mod?
Yeah, it was a
Was it not?
Warcraft
Dawn of
3.
the Ancients.
Yeah, it might have been Dota. I don't know. Something like that. I never got into it. But yeah, if so that they can have their online multiplayer component that they can continue to make money from, because I know that's where they want to go. But give me an RTS, man. Like, let's play Star Wars. Um, More than anything, I just kind of want to see them, go explore the galaxy, get away from Skywalker, and go explore the galaxy. Um, Disney's putting a lot of money into the High Republic era right now. Let's go do a whole new game in the High Republic era. Like, that's fine. Or even go back to the Old Republic era. There's a lot of stories. I know, like, Dave Filoni does what he can to kind of pull in pieces of Legend and make it canon. Find a good story from Legend and turn it into canon. Make it fit somehow. But
Yeah.
but as long as you're telling a story and not making these online microtransaction multiplayer games, that's all I want. I just want a story-driven Star Wars game. If you were to give any company, what's your dream company to get Star Wars rights right now?
I'd
Um,
also like to see Arcane Studios take a crack at honestly a stealthy smuggler game. I look the I love the Dishonored franchise. I would love to see Arcane really get to flex their muscles. Maybe you're a stealthy Mandalorian. Like again, they have a way of doing a first person game using a lot of different powers that leads itself to using various types of tech in the Star Wars universe. I would love to see their take on that. In my eyes, Arcane would make a wonderful Mandalorian style, not in the vein of the show, but a single standalone Mandalorian warrior doing some kind of missions, taking on all kinds of cool shit. And again, they have a way of making the kind of shooter combat along with stealth action combat blend seamlessly. I really enjoyed those the Dishonored games, and I would love to see them flex their muscle.
yeah. Okay.
What
Me,
about you?
me personally, I want Sucker Punch to get those rights, man. Like, looking back into the infamous days, like, I can
Yeah,
see a guy running around using force powers. Like, they have that type of background where they can make a big world or a big sandbox that you can run around and just mess stuff up with the force. Maybe kind of steal a little bit from the Force Unleashed and kind of make it like a physics based type thing where just everything's destructible or something.
yeah,
It doesn't need to be open world once again, because that's hard to tell a good story in.
yeah.
But just a world like that, and then the fact that they put out Ghost of Tsushima just this last year, like, they got sword combat down, so now we got force powers,
That's a
lightsabers.
that's a good
Like,
point.
they got it all figured. Like, they got a good combination right there. I've liked the stories that they've told. Obviously, I haven't played Ghost yet, but I like the infamous stories. I thought they were good. Yeah, I'm on board. Give me a Sucker Punch Star Wars game, and they can have my money. They can have
Yeah.
it now.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this news or?
I would expect a few more of these style announcements to come over the next year and a half. I think I think Disney wants to hit the ground running with the Lucasfilm IP. I think they know they're sitting on a treasure trove, and it would not surprise me for them to tap two or three more studios or developers over the next 18 months and have a uh, a stable of games ready to go as of summer 2023.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think we can totally expect that within 3 or 4 years or so that they will be making that there will be at least two Star Wars games a year getting released from
Yeah.
studios from various studios, which the saturation, we can definitely expect some lows, kind of like what you were saying with the Avengers game. But we could also definitely expect some good highs with like a Spider-Man style game.
Yeah, you know, and that's a fair trade off.
Yeah, throwing Star Wars at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, that's all we need.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you enjoy our content, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. We'd love to hear your comments in the comments section down below. Also, if you have any topics you would like us to discuss in future episodes, leave a comment or reach out to us on Twitter at GNerdities or Instagram at General Nerdities, all one word. Thanks.